I just like to make sure we have the right precinct. Just it's because I think that's how we figured out which was which, you know. So I'm sorry. 316. Yeah, that's why I asked if there were pens. I don't know.
Christy,
Christy, do you have a pen?
Sarah.
Christy, do you have a pen? I didn't bring a pen.
What kind of pen do you need?
Any pen. I just want to mark them off when I'm done. We're fixing to I just want to mark off the ones we've done.
Okay. Alright, so Sarah?
precinct 11.
Hey, you're brave.
So I just wanted to let you know if you're watching from home, we're not live streaming because okay. Yeah, we called in. I guess the hospital. Okay. They just walked some of the boxes out of it. I believe so. No, but they said soon.
Got them, just 3 more. 4, 5 more.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for it.
Good evening. Welcome to Santa Barbara City Hall. We're streaming live the Santa Barbara election on this Tuesday evening. I'm John Palminteri, and I'll be your host here as we give you the very latest results as they come into City Hall in the all-important mayor's race, 3 city council seats, and Measure C, about a 1% sales tax put before the voters in this election. What a night it is at Santa Barbara City Hall. Let's take a look around. We're going to be seeing results shortly as the staff is starting to look at some of the ballot totals that are coming into the computer. And as we pan over to the left here, we have some city staff members, and ballots are arriving now here that are going to be going through the computers. And this is an all-important time in Santa Barbara. This will be the first new mayor in the city of Santa Barbara in 8 years. There are 5 candidates running: Bendy White, Frank Hotchkiss, Hal Conklin, Angel Martinez, and Kathy Murillo. And of the candidates, Kathy Murillo is the only one in the council chambers right now. You're looking at city workers, and they're going through some of the ballots, and they'll be running through the machines that have been tested here at City Hall, and we'll get some results. As we pan around to the crowd here, if you look around, this section right in front of our camera is loaded with journalism students who for the first time will be reporting an election for some of them. And then among those that are in the crowd, we have journalists and interested citizens in Santa Barbara. As far as candidates, we did have Kathy Murillo here just a short time ago. Matter of fact, she is here. She's over by the map there on the right side talking to some of her friends and supporters. And she is moving about the room, and she is the only city mayoral candidate that is present right now here at Santa Barbara City Hall, shaking hands with some of the people here in row number 2. Lots of excitement there. The crowd has been highly interested in the very first results that we were told that would be out by now, so we are expecting them any moment now. As they pan around to the back side of the room there, you see Jason Dominguez, member of the Santa Barbara City Council, Jim Armstrong, the former city manager there, about 3 people from the door. With the tie there is Paul Casey. He is the city manager. And Dale Francisco is there as well, a former city council member and talk show host. Nick Welsh from the Santa Barbara Independent with his back to us. And Marcelo Lopez, a former city assistant city administrator, is next to. He just gave us a little head nod there. That's Marcelo. He had a mustache when he was a member of the city staff, and then he shaved it to go incognito, but we recognize him. And Kelsey Brugger is from the Santa Barbara Independent. So the Independent has a couple of reporters here. KEYT is here in full force. We have 4 members of our staff here and about 6 others that have found out around the town and will be at all the elections parties as well a little bit later on. For those of you that want to catch up with your favorite mayoral candidate, Angel Martinez will be at the Paradise Cafe. Frank Hotchkiss will be at Cadario Pizza. Bendy White will be at the Pickle Room. Casablanca will be where Kathy Murillo ends up later on tonight, and Hal Conklin will be at the new restaurant on Anacapa and Coda Street called Basil. Looking straight across the dais where the council members meet, these are city staff members. Jill Zachary is there just to the left of center. She's our park director, and you can see how they're double-checking the ballots, the envelopes, and all the significant information that needs to be verified in order for the ballots to be accepted and counted. This is the mail-in election in Santa Barbara. It is a financially efficient way to do an election when you only have an off-year election with 3 items, and in some cases just 2 for certain members of the city. As you know, everyone has a chance to vote for mayor or the Measure C 1% tax. And then in 3 districts in the city, they're voting for council members, but the other districts are not voting in this election. District 4 covers Coast Village Road and the Riviera. Jay Higgins, Kristen Stedden, and Jim Scafidi are vying for that spot. District 5 covers San Roque down to portions of Las Positas. That's Warner McGrew, the former fire chief, and Eric Friedman, a former assistant to Salud Carbajal. And District 6, incumbent Greg Hart, who was in the room a little while ago, and I don't know where he went to now, but he was here. Jack Yusufari and Aaron Solis, and that covers mostly downtown Santa Barbara. In just a few moments, we're expecting to get the results, and there'll be 2 big phases here. We'll get the results now, and these are going to be ballots that were turned into Santa Barbara City Hall or at through the post office mailed in. And they'll be going through first. It'll be 2 vote counts. That'll be the first one. And then there'll be one later on tonight when the ballots for today are brought in. They were picked up at the post office earlier today and dropped off. and then there'll be more that come in today, tomorrow for 3 days, and then they'll be run on Friday afternoon. If there is a very close race, and we're expecting that's a strong possibility, especially in the council races because of the districts and the voter turnout, that could be the difference in winning or losing for the candidates that are involved. The Santa Barbara City Council races went to districts in recent years in order to offer more community diversity and representation to different areas of the city. And since then, a number of other cities have also chosen to go from at-large to district elections. At-large is where the mayor falls, still elected by all of the city residents, not by district. And the mayor, in this case, is going to be brand new for the first time in 8 years because of term limits. Helene Schneider, who is not present here in the chamber tonight, has served out her term, and in January she'll be handing over the gavel to a new mayor in Santa Barbara. Once again, the room is filled to capacity, and people are still coming and going. Some are expected to be fanning out of here after the first results and then go over to the election night parties and follow on our streaming site, KEYT.com, and also on Channel 3 at 11 o'clock tonight and Fox 11 at 10 o'clock tonight. We'll have live reports from all of our reporters. This is the way it looks here at Santa Barbara City Hall. It's so exciting because for the first time in 8 years, we have a mayoral election in the city of Santa Barbara, and some of the issues that have been covered involve the downtown business corridor and the economics of that, the homeless situation, housing, that would be affordable housing and available housing, and also some of the solutions for the future in Santa Barbara. Does it need more technology in the downtown corridor, more businesses that bring in higher paying jobs? Santa Barbara, can it grow even more? Can't grow out, they say. Can it grow up or replace some of the current buildings with new ones that are multi-level buildings? We had our debate on KEYT in our forum to discuss these topics with all 5 of the mayoral candidates, and they were all asked about these key issues that are in the field of play tonight. We'll see how this resonates with the voters. Currently, we know that the voter turnout is something about 20 to 30%. We'll see what happens with the ballots that were turned in the last 48 hours, and of course the ones that came in today that will be picked up at the post office tomorrow and for the next 3 days to see if that turnout is much larger. At last report, we knew there were about 16,000 ballots that were turned in and certified out of 48,000 registered voters in the city of Santa Barbara. If you recall, in the 2009 election, when Helene Schneider was elected as the mayor for the first time then of an open seat, 23,000 voters cast ballots. So we'll see if we get to that mark or more. Some of the city staff members have told us they believe that number will be more than back in 2009. Let's pan around the room one more time and show you what we have here in the way of a number of students are here to observe the operation, and reporters as well, and city staff members. If you look in the front part of your screen, we have Vicki Nguyen, who's joining us from News Channel 3. She'll be following up on the ballot counting here and all that goes on with that. Every now and then there's a hush in the room because there's so much anticipation here. But we're ready for the key button to be pushed and to see some of the results come up on the screen. And we're looking way over to the right here to the ballot boxes, and it does look like, as it's been described, a Christmas gift because of the colors of the boxes. For those are ballots, and maybe it will be a holiday gift for one of the candidates that is hoping to be the new mayor of the city of Santa Barbara at a time when it's going through so much in the way of growth and changes and coming out of the recession, revitalizing downtown. The whole waterfront area has a brand new look to it with the Hotel California, new shops down there. The Funk Zone emerging as one of the most vivacious areas Santa Barbara has seen since the development of the Paseo Nuevo Mall back in 1990. That is the largest change of any sector of the city in 25 years or so. And it is economically going to be a boost for Santa Barbara, reshaping some of the focus off of downtown to the waterfront area. Haley Street has got some hopeful tenants in it too, with what they call the Lagoon District, although a lot of people haven't adopted that as a name, and that is also going through a revitalization. And who knows, maybe Milpa Street as well. Upper State Street has also some hopes and dreams, a lot of housing going in up there, and also the future of the La Cumbre Mall. Eric Friedman just walked into the room. Eric is running in a city council district. He is running in district number 5 against former fire chief Warner McGrew. He's shaking hands with city staff members. So already we've seen Greg Hart, who's running for city council, the incumbent. We've seen Eric Friedman. And we have Kathy Murillo in row number 2 now, moving about the room. Jason Dominguez is on the city council. And he's not running, but he is so interested to see who his new colleagues are going to be on the Santa Barbara City Council. In years gone by, we have seen more candidates come through the doorway here to see the results than we have tonight. So it's rather interesting to see what where they are and if they're going to be coming in now or just waiting over at their election parties. For some, they're calling them victory parties, and we'll see if indeed that'll be the case. How about a walk around the room? Let's go. We're going to take a walk around the room with you and show you who's here and maybe talk to a few people after we've given you the roadmap of what's happening here. These are some of the journalism students here. And then we have back here, we have some of the key reporters that are here. Maybe I'll even join in to some of these veteran reporters like Josh Molina, for example, who has been covering very actively, and Nick Welsh. Any prognostication here on at least the turnout?
Turnout's supposed to be pretty good. It's going to be pretty high. They already had almost 17,000 ballots as of yesterday. So it's going to be pretty good.
And Josh, you write for the News Hawk, and you noted that in 2009 we had about 23,000 turnout?
Yeah, 23,000 people in 2009, and that was the last time we had a big open mayor's race. 5 candidates, much like tonight. Yeah.
Okay. Except that one was really just, what was a three-way?
Three-person race.
Nick Welsh from the Santa Barbara Independent now joining in.
That was the race when Randall Van Wolfswinkel tried to buy the election.
Now, he was a wealthy person who went to school here?
He grew up here, went to school here, and became a Texas real estate billionaire and thought we need to save Santa Barbara the way it was, and tried to buy the city council election for about $1 million.
What would be considered an upset of the mayor's race today? Is there a winner that would say that came out of the left field?
Probably. I think if Angel Martinez wins, that's a big upset
that
because
would be like from left field. That would be.
He's raised more than any other candidate in Santa Barbara mayoral history, and he doesn't have a lot of public service experience. So that he's run a really strong campaign. So that would be a big surprise for sure.
Do you think we'll have the winner tonight, or do you think there'll be enough ballots coming in that can change it Friday?
We'll have the winner, but we just won't know who it is.
Do you think the city district races, the city council races, will be the closest? They will be too close to call? Possibly in some of them?
I think 2 of them are going to be really close.
I think District 6, I think we're going to see... the only question is, does Greg Hart win by 85 or 95%?
It'll be a slam dunk there, it looks like. What do you think of the district that covers from Mission Canyon through the Riviera down to Coast Village Road? That's a huge district. When you look at that on the map, it just is an eye-opener.
Yeah.
There's a lot of doors to knock on.
So there's a lot of tennis shoes, yeah.
That goes back to the Jack O'Connell days, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Didn't he wear a hole in his shoes?
He talks about it. He may have.
Jack was a longtime politician here who won, I think, in every race he ever ran in, all the way up to the state superintendent of public instruction. Okay, we're looking at, we're streaming live is what's going on here. I don't know if you realize that. This is actually...
John, I hope you pay attention to the nearly 40 Santa Barbara City College journalism students.
Who's their instructor?
Oh, yes. Well, we don't have to go there.
Josh is. And it's good. What did you advise them to pay attention to and to try and grasp here?
Well, this is their on-the-spot breaking news assignment, so I stress that it's unpredictable, but they're covering the mayor's race, district, and Measure C.
Are they going to fan out after this and try and...
Yeah, depending on the results, they've got to go to the parties and get quotes from the winners and the second and third place finishers. So it's going to be a fun night for them. For them, it's a big shift in the semester. They really find out whether they love journalism or not.
We thought they were going to push a button by now and see results. Could you describe what is transpiring? I've tried my best.
Well, it's election night, so it wouldn't be that way if we didn't have some kind of glitch or some kind of delay. So I imagine they're having some kind of technical, but I'm sure it's going to happen soon.
Checking for signatures and making sure ballots are not tampered with or, mismarked and that type of thing.
Now, I think they already have everything ready to go. They are counting for the next round.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm sure it's going to come up.
We've shown
soon.
pictures of that, and that's really what's going on. They have the ones loaded in the computer,
Right.
and then they have these that are the most recent, and they're just being validated by our city staff members.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's going to happen really soon here.
We're going to open up the aisleway here, Josh, because this is a dedicated corridor for people coming in and out. And there's the one person that needed to come through. And as always, News Channel 3 is accommodating to the public and the authorities here. This is a very secured room by the Santa Barbara Police Department and city officials. They're lucky. I'm stepping on somebody's purse over here. Maybe we can cross the aisle here. Can we? Anthony Wagner of the police department is going to let us through.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate
We're crossing the aisle here. Nina Johnson is the assistant to the city manager. You have a title I want to reword the wording on.
Results coming out
Yeah, so
soon?
there was a big question about that.
Results
we're
coming
so
out.
nervous.
Results will be coming out soon, showing all the ballots we've received through the end of Monday, end of yesterday.
Okay. Well, we're looking forward to that, and I'm waiting for the room to have some form of a gasp, as I said, down over there, that they're going to get our first glimpse of it. And then after that, we get a second look later on tonight.
In a few hours, we'll be seeing the results from the ballots received today.
And that's what they're looking at up there right now, right
That's what
there.
they're looking at right now, and all of the ballots are still coming in from the drop-in centers. There are 4 drop-in centers throughout town, so those are all arriving soon.
The room just went quiet. Do you know why?
Probably because they're going to be announcing results.
Then, did you? The police department did that. Well, we can keep talking, that's for sure, because we're streaming live and we have to give you the play-by-play here. Here at City Hall, it is packed. Have we reached our capacity yet? We're close, right? We might be. 136, but don't count. And we have a number of the candidates here. We've seen Kathy Murillo, mayoral candidate. I believe she's the only mayoral candidate in the room. Eric Friedman, running for city council, is here. Greg Hart was here earlier. And
Ma'am, do you want to come on this side?
there's a lot going on. I'm going to move all the way over to the doorway here and bypass Dale Francisco. Is he Jay Higgins? And Jason Dominguez is present, although he's not running for anything this time around. Yes. Over here. All right, so we've repositioned ourselves over here by Eric Friedman. Eric, I'm going to stick the mic out here. We're streaming right now. You came down in person. It is it's about 8:35 right now. You were probably expecting results by now.
8:30, whenever they come in, I'm ready.
What do the voters tell you when you went door to door about what they want in the future of Santa Barbara?
I think one, they were concerned about water and what we're going to do about water, housing, and economic development and infrastructure. Basic issues. They always have been. They always will be.
You know, the water issue kind of comes up, and now that it rained and we have the desal plant, it kind of simmered down a little bit. It's still a hot-button item in your district?
Still number one. I think everyone realizes that we had 9 inches of rain in one day, and if we hadn't, it'd still be the number one. And if we keep having a winter like we're having with 100-degree weather in November, it'll be number one again.
Do you expect results tonight to be the bellwether of everything between now and Friday?
Yeah, I think it'll be a good indication, especially in the district ones and the mayor as well. I think we'll have a good night and see where the city wants the new direction to go.
We were saying that the districts will be the area that you'll have too close to call or possibly too close to call. Are you nervous about that? Is the voter turnout?
Of course, I am, but I did everything I could, and I wouldn't change the way I've campaigned. And it was a really good campaign between me and Warner, and really like the way that we both focused on the issues.
All right, there you have it. Eric Friedman, who's hoping to win a seat on the Santa Barbara City Council. He did many years as the assistant to First District Supervisor Salud Carvajal, and he chose to stay here while his coworkers went off to Washington to work for Salud. Let's pan around the room a little bit more here and see some of the candidates and also some of the people here that are anticipating the results at any moment now at Santa Barbara City Hall. As soon as we're done here, we'll be going off to the campaign parties. Let me run those down for you, as a matter of fact, if you're looking for some of the campaign parties later on. Angel Martinez is just down the street at the Paradise Cafe. Hal Conklin's over at the new Italian restaurant, Basil, which is on Anacapa near Coda. Frank Hotchkiss is at the pizza section of Cadario. Bendy White's at the Pickle Room. And I'm hearing Rolling Thunder behind me. And Kathy Marie will be at Casablanca. We're being directed now back to clear the aisle once again because there's a cart coming through. And the cart is not carrying anything, but it's an important component to what's going on here, I'm sure. Let's pan around up there again one more time, because a lot of people are very interested in what's happening up there where the city council normally sits. And from what we understand, those are the ballots that came in today, and the city staff members are going through those, checking for the signatures, and also to make sure that the ballots are accurately marked, and then they'll be verified to go through the counting, the election machines. Now, earlier today, these machines were tested by the Martin and Shopman City Election Consultant Company, and the ballots will be run through in two folds. The ones we see right now, which are all the ballots that have been received up until today that were verified, and then the next wave will be the ones that were received today or picked up at the post office and verified, as you see there at the city council area, and those will run through a little bit later on tonight. But it was nice to hear from at least one candidate about the anticipation of how this is going to go and what the report card is going to be in the first go-round, and if anything can change later on. We do think that the district races will be close enough that there could be a lot of anticipation about the other ballots coming through and see if that makes any changes. But the big target is certainly the mayor's race in the city of Santa Barbara for the first time in 8 years, with Helene Schneider, the mayor, facing term limits. She steps down, and that seat is wide open. We have 3 council members that are seeking that seat: Kathy Murillo, Bendy White, and Frank Hotchkiss. We have former Mayor Hal Conklin, who is coming back to run for mayor again, and Angel Martinez, the former CEO of the Deckers Corporation, with what was viewed as no political experience, but coming in with a very strong campaign for the economic development of downtown Santa Barbara and creating jobs. And also he talked extensively about housing in Santa Barbara. Interesting story about Hal Conklin, if you recall, back in the 1990s, he was on the council, and we had term limits at that time that were voted in. He was approved to run for mayor after his term on the council from 1977 to 1993, and he won as mayor with 45.9% of the vote, and that result was challenged in court, and after just over a year, a judge ruled that he was not eligible to run for mayor, and he had to step down, and that opened the door for Harriet Miller to become the mayor of Santa Barbara. And since then, Marty Bloom has been mayor, and Helene Schneider. And that's the roadmap that took place in the mayor's seat here. Hal then went on to work for the Southern California Edison Company as a government affairs representative. As you see, ballots coming right in front of our camera right now that have been counted and sealed. Look at that seal right on the top there. Counted ballots in the red box, securely being transported through the area. We have a police presence here as well, and staff from the city of Santa Barbara. Getting back to the story of Santa Barbara mayoral seats, with Hal Conklin going off to work for the Southern California Edison Company. Then he retired from that just a couple years ago, and as this seat became available, he threw his hat back in, saying he still wanted to come back in and help Santa Barbara in many areas. He claims rich history in environmentalism, one of the premier inventors of sorts of how the recycling goes in this town, a model that was copied by the state of California. Also, back in the 80s when Stearns Wharf was destroyed by a fire, he championed a cause to rebuild the wharf and get businesses back out there, saying Santa Barbara needs Stearns Wharf to be back in business, and he was part of all of that. That brought the wharf back, and he helped with the Paseo Nuevo Mall structure and getting a downtown shopping mall in that area when there were other types of businesses, and certainly not a mall like you see there today. That in itself was a huge community debate over either having an anchor store up by Victoria and State Street. Bullock's was the one they were looking at, and that was shut down by city residents to anchor what would have been somewhat of a downtown mall to then create this area around De La Guerra and State and Chapala and Ortega to become the Paseo Nuevo Mall, and that's what we have today. Now, of course, things are changing with the demise of Macy's, and on the horizon, the closure of Off Fifth by Saks has raised a lot of eyebrows about what to do with all the square footage that's going to be available there. Throughout this campaign, there's been numbers thrown around of 40 to 50 vacancies in downtown Santa Barbara, but since then, there has also been vacancy signs coming down and leases being signed and businesses opening up, and a lot of hopes and dreams from retail, restaurants, and others coming into downtown Santa Barbara. So we think those numbers are not as high as they once were, and maybe there is a comeback economically that is taking place as we are transitioning to some new seats in the Santa Barbara City Council. One of the bigger changes that we've talked about in Santa Barbara has been with the waterfront area and also with the Funk Zone. And that has certainly been a fresh boost to Santa Barbara. And a lot of people talking about what that will mean to the city in the future. Let's come around again one more time. Walk behind Nick Walsh here. Nick, any further observations for us while we have you here? Like we only see one mayoral candidate.
I know, we only have.
And we should ask Kelsey as well. Haven't gotten to you yet. Any observations so far? Did you anticipate results by now?
I really like to ask the questions, John. I don't like to answer them.
Ask me one.
Who do you think's going to win?
The person with the most votes.
There you go. That's a good answer. I'm going to stick to that answer, too. I'm going to borrow that.
Did you find that your readers or the voters were aware there was a mayoral election and what it means to Santa Barbara?
Yeah, I think that people are, I think that, based on the room, there's energy in here, but there could be more people here, so.
They're watching.
Maybe they're watching at home. Maybe they're clicking refresh on their computer.
Now.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet they're hitting refresh quite a bit right now.
When do you think we're going to get results?
I expected them by now, so I don't know. Is this like a big change in the dynamics of Santa Barbara as you see it?
I think it depends on who wins, right?
Mm-hmm. We could have two familiar faces.
We could have an outsider.
Right.
We could have someone who's been on the council for years.
Do you
someone
sense
who
this
was a mayor, decades ago.
I know. I was just explaining that whole roadmap that Nick writes about quite a bit back when term limits were established in Santa Barbara at the same time that I believe in that election, Jerry DeWitt and Sheila Lodge were re-elected when term limits were also voted in.
Do you remember that? That's against the law, John.
And that so the voters favored term limits, but they also added more years to a couple of council members.
Yeah, a little bit. Everybody gets a little bit, but that was the time where the big question was, can Hal run? Yeah. So Hal gets in for a year, and William Barkhouse, this libertarian who looks like Abe Lincoln, sues. Everybody says you're crazy. Barkhouse wins, and Hal has to step down. So we had one male mayor. I think he was the only male mayor we've had since Sheila Lodge.
Which would be the early 80s?
Yeah. So it's been...
And that was about a year and a month.
About. Yeah.
And now Hal's come around again. I'll just step over on this side of the camera to let him get some shots. And there was even a question whether he could run this time.
Well, you know what would be interesting is to see if there's a lawsuit filed. Bruce Rittenhouse is back from Mexico. He's hanging out, and he could sue. And who knows? If you look at the language,
It's still up for interpretation?
You could interpret it 3 different ways.
Wow. I didn't want to hear that tonight, but I got it from Nick Walsh of the Santa Barbara Independent.
Not the horse's mouth, but the horse's ass.
Okay. Or Trixie's.
Yeah, there we go.
Now, you're on a pretty tight deadline being Tuesday night to
Yeah.
get the paper out. How does this work for the Independent?
Not well.
Why not?
We're going to be up to about midnight, I think, trying to put this together.
Yeah.
And
this is the article and the photos.
Yeah. And typically, we like to have all this stuff done by 6 or 7.
Yeah. But it's election night. These
It's
things
election
happen.
night, yeah. News happens.
Yeah. Are you nervous that we haven't seen any results yet?
I'm not nervous. I'm getting antsy, though.
Yeah.
It's taken a while, and I think if it's taken this long to get this pulse of votes, how long is it going to take to get the next one?
Yeah.
But this is a big one. This is like 16,800, which is, a really good turnout at this time.
Yeah.
So, probably 35% as of Monday. I think it's pretty safe to guess we'll get 45%.
Good.
And if you get 45%, I know Cathy Murillo's campaign, the Democrats think, okay, we can win this one. If it's less than that, they think, not so sure. It's more of a horse race, which is probably why you saw. I don't know if you guys saw it, but there was a hit piece that Frank Hotchkiss put out against Cathy Murillo. Frank Hotchkiss is a conservative Republican who is very much against sanctuary cities, but he takes out a hit piece attacking Cathy for not being emphatically enough in favor of sanctuaries, kind of painting her as a vanilla progressive.
He also put out a piece that said he's the only candidate that can defeat her.
Yeah. That was a play for Bendy White supporters.
Yeah, because they had his picture in the flyer as well.
I'm the only one who can win. The only NIMBY who can win.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how that plays out. I expected to see some of them by now, but maybe they're nervously watching online, like we're nervously projecting online.
Cathy has to feel good because if everybody is kicking her ankles, that suggests that she's got a significant lead, or at least enough of a lead people want to take her down a notch.
Well, she's putting herself out here as the only mayoral candidate here, so it could be jubilation or disappointment. We'll see how that goes. It is what it is. Okay, thanks, Nick. That was great. We're streaming this, and as I understand, a lot of our people are watching and listening to this, so thanks so much for your insights as always, and we'll be reading Thursday morning when it hits the racks, the Santa Barbara Independent. And Josh Molina's here with NewsHawk as well. And I'll take care. I'm with you. I'm just waiting. Kelsey, thank you too.
Thank you. Have fun tonight.
Well, the fun is just beginning. All right. Josh, you have any future journalists here that are ready to talk on camera? Who's going to be your next? Why did everybody go quiet? Is it time? It went quiet. Every now and then we get these phases where it goes quiet. Here, let's go over here and talk to some journalism students. Are you in Josh's class?
I am, yes. My name is Rowan Peak.
Okay, Rowan, this could be it for you. We could,
my big break?
Yeah, someone could say, get that guy down here right now and get him on the set.
All right.
What was your assignment tonight?
Our assignment tonight, personally, our group is covering just the mayoral race. Mm-hmm. So we're focusing on the 5 mayoral candidates. And we're broken up in groups, so we're broken up based on whether or not we're covering the mayoral race, the District 4 race, or the Measure C.
What'd you get?
Mayoral.
You're mayoral. So when you get the results here, what do you do, and then where do you go?
Well, I was actually given some good advice. We're first going to go to the losing candidates party because they're most likely to maybe leave first. So we want to get a word with them, their take on everything and the whole election. And then from there, just based on the results coming in and the standings, we want to talk to obviously the person who's winning, the person who's close behind them, kind of try to capture the feeling over the night.
You ever been around anything close to this or even watched elections on TV?
I voted in the last presidential election personally.
Did you watch the results?
On TV? Yeah, I did. I stayed up and watched them. As for like municipal stuff, I came once to this room and I was here for the bike master plan voting, and there were actually a lot more people for that than this, which I found interesting. But obviously, it was a lot more of the people's voice in that room at that time to the city council versus just the counting of ballots. But yeah.
It is amazing what it takes to run a city, doesn't it? It goes from big money issues to bike lanes.
Exactly, and there's all these people working are citizens and people who live in the county and care about this election. And I mean, you see them all. They're all working up there. They're all putting in the time,
making sure it's everything's signed and dotted. Who's next to you?
Exactly.
That's another future journalist.
Yes, sir. My name is David Shosted.
David, thanks. It's Rowan, right?
Yes.
Thanks, Rowan. And David, are you on the mayor's beat too?
Yes, sir.
How did you research all the candidates?
I watched. There was some sort of roundtable discussion with my professor on there, and then a couple other journalists that I see around here, and then I watched each individual candidate's interview. So yeah, and I read a lot.
You know, KUIT had a forum with all the candidates. Did you tune into that?
I wish I had of. That probably was very informative.
My parents probably did. My parents definitely did.
Your parents live here?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe they're watching on our streaming broadcast
No,
right
they
now.
probably are. My mom
are.
definitely is. I don't know what my dad's up to, but my mom definitely is.
Well, this is whatever's on. This is prime time. This is
always prime time with Palmentary. It's always prime time.
I've said that sometimes myself, as a matter of fact. But what is really suspenseful, and you probably will write about this, is that we did anticipate by about 8:15ish we would see something, and we haven't. So that alone makes us a little uneasy, and maybe it's a component to your story, maybe it isn't. I don't know. We'll see. I know that is where our camera is shooting right now are some of the top people that are handling this election, and you watch the expressions on their faces, and I know I took a picture earlier, and they were leaning over the computer like, well, press refresh.
There's the results.
There it is. Let's take a look, ladies and gentlemen. There are the results as we know them now. And let's get over here in front. And Kathy Murillo has 27.4% of the vote. Frank Hotchkiss with 23.5%. Angel Martinez with 19%. Hal Conklin. Oh, they've already switched now. But Kathy Murillo, who's in here, and we'll spin the camera on Ryder to get a shot of Kathy Murillo, who's here. Let's see if I can get this shot over to get underneath here. And let's turn around and see Kathy Murillo, who is right there. As the results are going up for some of the city council positions and races as well, with Christian Stedden leading, Eric Friedman. They flashed over it as well. Now we're going to go by precinct to get some of the voter results. This is the data and some of the minutia by different precincts in Santa Barbara to see how the voter turnout is. And generally we see some that, I see one that was over 50%, some that are down in the low 20s, and a lot in the 30s and 40%. But the big story is, as we are streaming here live, you see it. The results are coming into Santa Barbara City Hall, and Kathy Murillo is leading in the mayoral's race right now for the city of Santa Barbara, the first new mayor in 8 years in Santa Barbara after a very vigorous campaign. And she is in the house right now with her supporters, as a matter of fact, and she is looking at the results on the big screen. They're up there again. Once again, Kathy Murillo, 27.4% of the votes. Frank Hotchkiss with 23.5%. Angel Martinez, 19.2%. Hal Conklin, 17.4%. And Bendy White in fifth place, 12.5%. But if you look, the total votes at 4,577 are in right now. And that may raise the eyebrows of a lot of people that's what it's taken right now to get that lead in a race that has, we understand, approximately 19,000 ballots in. That number is expected to go up as the rest of the ballots go through the system. Is there enough to make a difference? We will see. When you really look at it, it's about a little over 600 votes between Murillo and Hotchkiss, and another 700 down to Angel Martinez. So the difference between, for example, Martinez and Murillo is about 1,300 votes. And we do not know how many remaining ballots still are left to be counted in this race. We know a whole load came in today on the final day of turning in ballots, and people, as you might have seen on our social media sites, were voting up until the deadline at 8 o'clock tonight. And those ballots still need to be verified, their signatures and the ballot inside, to make sure it wasn't tampered with or mismarked in any way. Cleared to be going through the election ballot counting machines, and then they'll be tallied, and we'll get those results a little bit later on. Let's take one more pan around the room right now. Our journalism students are leaving the room, and we are thankful to a couple of them for talking to us tonight about what their assignment is to cover the mayoral's race. And now they're off to go to the campaign parties. As one of them told us, they're going to go visit the losers first because they're most likely to go home first, and then go work on some of the top contenders tonight as well. But I think it's still up in the air. I'm sure that Angel Martinez believes that he still has some horsepower in the ballots that are remaining that could change the outcome of this election. And we will see how that plays out now, and not only later on tonight with the ballots that go through, but also any remaining ballots that come through in the post office that will be for next week, next Friday, and we'll get those results. Now, as far as Cathy Murillo, we're on the other side of some ropes here, and I don't know if she's still in the room. She might be out in the hallway. Let's see. Maybe she's out in the hallway, but I'm not sure if we're going to catch up with her out there. But we probably should take a look out there and see. Here comes Eric Friedman. He's very excited about the outcome so far. Eric is running for a city council seat. He is in the 5th district against Warner McGrew in the San Roque and Las Positas range of the districts, and he is very happy about the outcome. He spoke with us earlier. Let's go out the hallway and see if we've got Cathy Murillo out there tonight. There certainly are a number of cameras and people out there. We're looking high and wide and over the crowd there.
Okay, guys, thank you.
And we're going to walk through the crowd right here of the journalism students. Go ahead. These are aspiring reporters, so push and shove like the others. Yeah. No, they're very polite. And I think it's the logjam is up front because our leading candidate is there talking to other reporters. But we'll get there. She's just getting warmed up. The hard-hitting questions are coming as soon as we get through this logjam. We hope you've enjoyed our streaming broadcast, a play-by-play, as it were, of our election night 2017. First time ever we've done this. Technology and the Wi-Fi. Greg Hart's here, too. Let's get a quick one. Greg, there's Cathy. She's not going anywhere. Greg, you got a big beaming smile.
I'm
Is
really
it a slam
excited.
dunk?
Well, no, you always do as hard a job as you possibly can in a campaign, and I'm really pleased with the teamwork that I had with all the volunteers and everybody. It's a great, gratifying win. Thank you.
On the district map, your area doesn't look that big compared to the Riviera, Mission Canyon, Coast Village Road, but you have a lot of population.
A lot of stairs to cover, a lot of dense apartment buildings, so we worked really hard and went to a lot of people's doors, and obviously the results I'm really pleased about.
Greg Hart back on the city council, the incumbent, and he's back again. Let's catch up with Cathy Murillo here, live streaming. And she's still being surrounded, so here we go. And it looks like our Vicky Nguyen has caught up with her to do an interview. Oh, Kathy Maria, we're streaming live. Just a real
Thank
quick
you.
one. I know our colleagues are here as well. Early results, your reaction to this?
It looks really good for me, John, and I'm pleased that the voters are putting their trust in me. That's what it means. You know, you're going to their door and you're saying, hi, I want to be your mayor, and these are my accomplishments and these are my goals for the future. And they're giving me their votes. I'm awfully pleased. Yeah,
And
thanks.
so far, so good, but a lot of ballots are up there we see tonight. So there's about a 600 vote difference.
Right, so I'm cautiously optimistic. Yeah.
I've heard that over the years from candidates.
But what can I say?
And finally, what did the voters tell you on the campaign trail that you thought Santa Barbara needed?
What I've always said is if people have a job and housing, that's why I'm working for jobs and housing opportunities. If you have a place to live and if you have an income in Santa Barbara, you're happy because it's a low crime, beautiful place to live, a lot of job opportunities, but I want to improve that.
Okay, I'll let you go. I know you have a lot of people to talk to, and a lot of deadlines have to be met, and we want to spread this out evenly to everyone. And we are streaming. That's Kathy Murillo, who is leading currently in the city council race here at Santa Barbara City Hall over Angel Martinez and Frank Hotchkiss and Angel Martinez, 1, 2, and 3, as we just saw up on the main board right now. So we're going to be breaking loose here because we have to relocate over to the other side of the street to the Paradise Cafe. We'll be with the Angel Martinez group, and we have reporters with Frank Hotchkiss of the Cadario Pizzeria on Victoria Street, with Ben DeWhite over at the Pickle Room, and Kathy's going down to Casablanca, and I think Hal Conklin was the last one. He's going to be at the Basil Italian Restaurant on Anacapa Street. So here we have it. We've been with you for an hour approximately with this new way to deliver the very current election results streaming to you tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's take one more spin around here and show you Nick Walsh from The Independent. Kathy Murillo's doing her press interviews, and then she goes off, and of course we'll be talking to her later on tonight as we see the next round of interviews, and we'll have her live on TV tonight for the 11 o'clock news and Channel 3 and the 10 o'clock news on KKFX Channel 11. I'm John Palmentieri, and you've been watching live streaming coverage of Election Night 2017 from Santa Barbara City Hall with some exclusive interviews and coverage we're so proud to bring you tonight. We're going to take a break here and clear the line. We'll be posting the most current results with the refresh on your computer or phone throughout the evening, and we'll be back with you live on KKFX Channel 11 coming up in about an hour from now. Have a good evening. Thank you for joining us.